How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Staying Focused for Jesus. We're going to build upon our previous video that we did. Um, I hope it was very edifying for you, gave you some things to think about. And that was the herpes, the mark of the serpent video. So I was doing some research, as I'm usually doing, on something else, and then something else pops up. And I caught something, and I want to go into a little bit more detail in regard to what we discussed in that previous video. Now, I know that video was long, but for those of you who have watched it, you understand why it had to be so long. And for those of you who haven't seen it or watched the whole thing, go take your time, go watch it, and then you will understand what we are going to be talking about in this video a little bit more. So if you recall, we had the images of Rihanna that we had in the video, and she was posing as Medusa with the serpents, with the snakes and stuff like that. And if we go over here, we see that Rihanna, and I'm not going to stay on this long because, I don't want to put a stumbling block in front of anybody. Rihanna has a tattoo of the Egyptian goddess Isis. She has a tattoo on her. She has it tattooed on her chest, as you see. And there's a connection between the two of, if I'm not mistaken, she also has it on her back. There's a connection between Medusa and Isis. There's a connection. So we know what Medusa, Medusa, the spirit of Medusa, what Rihanna is portraying, and what Rihanna is trying to get across symbolically. She's letting you know who she rolls with. So when we go read a little bit about Medusa, we see that Medusa is a guardian or protectress. And it says it was a monster, a gorgon, generally described as a winged human female with living venomous snakes in place of hair. So Isis would be either Medusa or a form of Medusa. Even though Isis has the face of a woman, that's a physical manifestation, but you can look past it and look at the spirit. So Rihanna is clearly telling us who she is, what type of spirit she has in her. Now, if we go down, let's read this. It says, an archaic Medusa wearing the belt of the intertwined snakes. What does it say after that? A fertility symbol. A fertility symbol. So the intertwined snakes had to do with fertility. Fertility has to do with what? Sex, which has to do with what? DNA. Remember, I keep on telling you that this boils down to DNA. It boils down to really the fight for mankind, starting with Israel, because that's the lineage that Christ came through physically. It's about the changing of the DNA. So this is more proof, more evidence, showing you what the rod of Asclepius, the caduceus, which we know that they are one and the same. They can represent many things, but they try to say, oh no connection. We debunked all that. We see it has to do with DNA, the bringing back together of the torn person. If you're when you're lost, you're split. There's that duality. You want to do good, but you always going to do evil, because of the knowledge that was eaten by Eve and then given to Adam, and then that curse passed down to all of us through what? The DNA is locked into the DNA code, into the DNA now. the curse. So it's the bringing together of the two back into one. The bringing together the two back into one. Now the way they do it is through the feminine spirit, and that's because of the serpent going to deceive Eve. But let's push it forward, because we'll cover a little bit. So it talks about the three Gorgon sisters: Medusa, Syntheno, and Uriel. Now, these three Gorgon sisters are tied in directly with Islam and the three sisters of the moon, which is the moon goddesses, which is really what Islam is based off of. So when we go to our next point, we read about the serpent. Let's see what it says about the serpent. The serpent or snake is one of the oldest and most widespread mythological symbols. The word is derived from Latin serpens, a crawling animal or snake. Snakes have been associated with some of the oldest rituals known to mankind and represent dual expression of good and evil. You can be good and evil, and you can do evil and still be good. That duality. In some cultures, snakes were what? Fertility symbols. For example, the Hopi people of North America performed an annual snake dance to celebrate the union of snake youth, a sky spirit, and snake girl, an underworld spirit. So it's the bringing together of the two, the spiritual and the physical, back together as one. Because remember, when God created the world, created the earth and everything, it was all one. The spirit and the physical were all one in unison and perfect harmony. And then sin came in, and then it split. So when the angels came down and they slept with the daughters of men, they were trying to be the ones that were going to redeem mankind, because they were trying to do it their way. They were trying to be the Messiah. They were also trying to stop the Messiah from coming through the bloodline. They're trying to taint the bloodline and stuff. But they were trying to be the Messiahs, to bring forth a Messiah through their DNA lineage, by bringing forth a child that was God, a God we call God and man. This is what Freemasonry is all about in the occult. It's the bringing together of the two through the spirit, because you need the spiritual power to be able to do it. During the dance, live snakes were handled, and at the end of the dance, the snakes were released into the fields to guarantee good crops. The snake dance is a prayer to the spirits of the clouds, the thunder, and the lightning, that the rain may fall on the growing crops. In other cultures, snakes symbolize the umbilical cord joining all humans to Mother Earth. You see? Because the reason the snake symbolized the umbilical cord is because the nutrients that go to the baby, they go through the umbilical cord. So the mother eats, the food is processed, it goes to the umbilical cord to feed the baby. So the mother goddess, the mother earth, the queen of heaven, the kundalini, the serpent power, the weaker vessel is exalted over the masculine, saying that, hey, it is the mother, it is the goddess that is the giver and bringer of life, that is the protector of the children, the protector of the little king, the physical king of the earth, coming forth from the earth, coming forth from the physical. The great goddess often had snakes as her familiars. What did God say about familiar spirits? Sometimes twining around her what? Sacred staff. As in ancient Crete, and they were worshipped as guardians of her mysteries of birth and regeneration. So the familiar spirits, they were guarding this the mystery of birth, of regeneration, of life and death, and being born again, because you can be born again of the Spirit of God, or you can be born again of this spirit that we're reading about right here. So you had the snakes that were supposed to be guarding the mysteries of birth, the mystery of the bringing forth of kings and queens. Historically, serpents and snakes represent fertility or a creative life force. This all has to do with sex, reproduction, DNA. As snakes shed their skin through, how you pronounce that? Sloughing or slowing. They are symbols of rebirth, transformation, immortality, and healing. The Ouroboros, probably pronounced that wrong, but hey, y'all see it on the screen, is a symbol of eternity and continual renewal of life. And that symbol, that's the serpent with the tail in his mouth. In some Abrahamic traditions, the serpent represents sexual desire. According to some interpretations of the Midrash, the serpent represents sexual passion. In Hinduism, Kundalini is a coiled serpent. So you have the meditating Buddha being shielded by the Naga called Mukalinda, however you pronounce it. Serpents are represented as potent guardians of temples and other sacred spaces. This connection may be grounded in the observation that when threatened, some snakes, such as rattlesnakes or cobras, frequently hold and defend their ground, first resorting to threatening display and then fighting rather than retreat. Thus, they are natural guardians of treasures or sacred sites which cannot easily be moved out of harm's way. At Angkor in Cambodia, numerous stone sculptures present hooded multi-headed Nagas as guardians of temples or other premises. It's interesting, Nagas, like come on now. I already know there's a connection with that. I already know. The reason it's so closely associated to nigger, is because the original I just gave it away, the original Buddhas were described as being black. And you go look at the word Naga, nigger, which is Niger, which means black. So these Nagas in the Buddhist religion, you can go look this up, nothing I'm making up. They were known as these black gods. The original Buddha was a so-called black man. That's from historical texts, way before I was even born, before all of us was even born. And this is where you get the word, what is it? Sambo. Sambo comes from the Buddhist to Hinduist religion. This god Sambo, who was described as what we call black. That's what we call Nagas. These serpents, these wise ones of old. So go look it up. Go type in black Buddhist gods. Go black Buddhist Sambo or whatever, and then it's gonna give you the references and stuff. A favorite motif of Angkorian sculptures from approximately the 12th century CE onward was that of the Buddha, sitting in a position of meditation, his weight supported by the coils of a multi-headed naga that also uses its flared hood to shield him from above. This motif recalls the story of the Buddha and the Serpent King Makulinda. As the Buddha sat beneath a tree engrossed in meditation, Makulinda came up from the roots of the tree to shield the Buddha from a tempest, from a storm that was just beginning to arise. The Gadsden flag of the American Revolution depicts a rattlesnake coiled up and poised to strike. Below the image of the snake is the legend, "Don't tread on me." The snake symbolized the dangerousness of colonists willing to fight for their rights in homeland. Don't tread on me. What did Jesus say? He said he gave us power to tread over serpents. Serpents are connected with poison and medicine. Didn't we discuss that in the video? The snake's venom is associated with the chemicals of plants and fungi. Now you see the connection with herpes and why I broke the definition of it down. It was a seaweed, a sea plant. We know what a weed is. A sea plant that's poisonous because it gives off a chemical that affects us who are spiritual beings in the flesh, which is why a majority of our body is made up of water. Then it goes on and says what? They have the power to heal, poison, or provide expanded consciousness, and even the elixir of life and immortality. Come on, y'all. You see, this is why I do these 4-hour sermons and do this research. Come on. You see what's going on. Through divine intoxication. God told us not to be intoxicated. He said those that are drunk, they're drunken in the night. We don't have when we are awakened, we are not intoxicated to receive expanded consciousness. Because of his herbal knowledge and entheogenic association, the snake was often considered one of the wisest animals, being what? Close to the divine. I mean, how much clearer can we get? Even they know these things, and Jesus said that too. The children of this world are wiser than the children of the day. Because of his herbal knowledge. It's herbal knowledge of different herbs and how they have healing properties. But the serpent didn't know how to bring them all together for this elixir of life to heal man completely from man's fallen and broken state. See, the serpent think he can do it through the elements, the physical things of the world. But the elixir of life and immortality, it's the code for it was hidden in Christ. Christ is that elixir of life. He is that drink. He is that bread. He is that herbal knowledge. It's in him. It's through the gospel. But Satan thinks that he can do it another way. Climb up another way. Oh, if I can take everything that I know and bring it together, then I can do the same thing that he did. It's not about the herbs. It's about the person that's behind the herbs, using the herbs in the way that they weren't intended to be used, which is what Romans talks about. That they worship the creature, the creation of God, more than the creator himself. Oh, these herbs can heal us. This serpent can heal us that's the wisest of the animals, because he can give us the wisdom of how to be able to do these different things. Now, does that mean that we aren't supposed to be taking herbs and vitamins and all this stuff? No, we're supposed to be using them in righteousness. And the herbs, the true way to use herbs is that you use the herbs and all these different things that have these different benefits to glorify God. Point toward him and say, he's the one that made these different things. These things are a type and a shadow to point us to him, because these things are temporary. The herbal knowledge and everything, and what different herbs, what different teas, what different leaves do. They are a type and shadow to point us to Christ, because those herbs and spices and different things, they are temporary. And he is the one who made them. So when we taking these different herbs and we're seeing what these different herbs and spices and leaves and different things do, we're supposed to be like, oh, the benefits of these things are awesome, but I'm eventually still going to die. So who made the herbs? Jesus Christ. He made the herbs. So God made the herbs. So, oh, I want to go to him. I want to go get the knowledge that he has to live forever. Hey, God, I took these herbs. I see you made these herbs and they had different benefits, but I'm still having problems. I'm not whole. I'm still going to die. Now, I know if you put the code in here for these things that have healing properties, then that must mean that you have the real code of immortality, of eternal life. Yes, I do. That's what God said. Yes, I do. Then you ask, well, what is the code? What is the elixir of life? Then he reveals it to you through the mystery. He tests you to see if you really want it. But the code has been revealed. It's to repent and believe the gospel. It's the preaching of the gospel. But when you tell people that, it's foolishness to them. That's what the Bible says. So it goes on and says, its divine aspect combined with its, listen, with its habitat in the earth between the roots of plants made it an animal with, how you say that? We're going to skip that. Properties connected to the afterlife and immortality. The deified Greek physician Asclepius, as god of medicine and healing, carried a staff with one serpent wrapped around it, which has become the symbol of modern medicine. It talks about Moses. We already know about that. So make sure that's all I want to read. Now let's go down here. In Africa, the chief center of serpent worship was Dahomey, but the cult of the python seems to have been of exotic origin, dating back to the first quarter of the 17th century. By the conquest of the Whydah, the Dahomeans were brought in contact with a people of serpent worshippers. So all this is nothing new, y'all. Nothing new. It's deeper than a snake. It's deeper than a dang snake. And ended by adopting from them the beliefs which they at first despised. That's what happens. People despise something, they end up accepting it. At Whydah, the chief center, there is a serpent temple tenanted by some 50 snakes. Every python of the Dangbi kind must be treated with respect, and death is a penalty for killing one, even by accident. The Dangbi has numerous wives. Oh, really? So, every python of the Dangbi, and then a Dangbi has numerous wives. Huh. So it's deeper than just a serpent. The serpent represents something. Who until 1857 took part in a public procession from which the profane crowd was excluded. A python was carried around the town in a hammock, perhaps as a ceremony for the expulsion of evils. The rainbow god of the Ashanti was also conceived to have the form of a snake. So this God was in the form of a snake. What do we know about the rainbow? The rainbow points us to who? Our God. Has to do with the wisdom. We see what the snake represents: the fertility, immortality, regeneration. Through what? Through the knowledge. His messenger was said to be a small variety of boa, but only certain individuals, not the whole species, were sacred. In many parts of Africa, the serpent is looked upon as the incarnation of deceased relatives. So you see the connection between the serpent and people and gods. Among the Amazulu, as among the Betsilio of Madagascar, certain species are assigned as the abode of certain classes. The Maasai, on the other hand, regard each species as the habitat of a particular family of the tribe. Your spiritual light should be lighting that much more. Now look at this. Look at this. The libation vase of Gudea with the dragon Mushhushu. We ain't gonna try to pronounce some of these words. Y'all see, if you wanna know how to pronounce it, you can go look it up. I'm not finna sit here and try. I'm not finna sit here and flex like that. So you see, this is ancient. You got the two gorgons, which are the creatures that are mentioned in the book of Revelation, the ones who have the tails like scorpions and the faces like men and the hair of lions and with a crown on their head. That's them right here. You see, they got a crown on their head. They got the wings. This is what this is. What are they doing? They're protecting the two serpents intertwined around the rod. This is DNA. Now look what it says. The caduceus is interpreted as depicting the God himself. I'm going to read that one more time. The caduceus is interpreted as depicting the God himself. So this is his DNA code. It's depicting, what is it depicting? This God manifests in the flesh. If we have confirmed that the caduceus has everything to do with DNA, the two serpents, remember we talked about they had one staff, one rod with the serpent wrapped around it, and then the other rod with the serpent wrapped around it, and then they end up bringing them together. This is DNA. Look at it. Look. I mean, come on now. This is DNA. I don't know how to explain it that much more. So if we know this is DNA, and it's saying that this is old. This is old. The caduceus is interpreted as depicting the God himself. Is depicting what? This God being manifested in the flesh. And you have these creatures, these monsters, these gorgons, these gargoyles, these griffins, whatever you want to call them, that are protecting the DNA, the lineage, the family that he's coming through. The familiar spirits, the unclean spirit, the demons, the devils. Protecting the knowledge that's being passed down through the family lineages. Until these gods, they are manifested in a specific body through a specific lineage. Which I call, what they say, the bloodline of the other reptilians and stuff like that. The 13 bloodlines and stuff like that. These entities, they are protecting these families. They're protecting this knowledge of where they really come from. and then the children are born, and then they're raised up in the ways of what we call Luciferianism, the passing of the knowledge. The giving of the knowledge to the children is the enlightenment of the DNA code that's already written within them. It's the activation of the code. So when they give the wisdom to the child, when they give the ankh, like it did in ancient Egypt, to the child, the eating of it, it's the activation of the code within. In the same way, on the flip side, don't y'all see what's going on here? For us, when we receive the gospel, the more we receive the gospel, the more we're like, okay, And then guess what? Boom, eventually the knowledge, the wisdom, the code, it takes, and then the code that is written within our DNA, which is the original code, they're trying to overwrite that code, to repent and believe the gospel. It's like, hallelujah, I've been wasting time. You're now enlightened because now the code has been activated that's written within your DNA in regards to what you are supposed to be doing and why you are here and where you came from. So God was using the angels, the good angels, to protect you throughout your generations and lineages until you came and were manifested in the flesh to do his will. And he used these creatures to do that. But Satan then used his creatures to combat that, trying to stop you from coming into this world, because now you are a serpent crusher. Excuse me, you are a threat to him. So he was trying to stop you from coming into this flesh, but he couldn't. So again, if the caduceus is interpreted as depicting the God himself, that's DNA. These creatures, they are protecting these families, and they're making moves to connect the different families to bring forth these children so that these gods can inhabit these bodies. Then the spirit can go into them, and then they can take the knowledge that they have had for all these years into this current world that we are in, and progress the world in the way that they want it to be progressed, to bring forth their father, the devil, raise him from the dead through technology and the manipulation of the DNA. In ancient Mesopotamia, Nira, the messenger god of Istaron, was represented as a serpent on Kadurus, or boundary stones. The Bible talks about the stones. He walked among the midst of the stones in heaven. Representations of two intertwined serpents are common in Sumerian art and Neo-Sumerian artwork. It goes back so far, and still appears sporadically on cylinder seals and amulets until as late as the 13th century BCE. They're telling the same story over and over again. They're just telling it from their perspective in regards to their God. That's why the stories are so closely related. It's only two sides. Either you're on the side of Jesus or the side of Lucifer. It's only two sides. Now you can take the story and twist it how you want to. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they're telling the same story as Jesus Christ. They're pointing toward Jesus. These different gods of ancient Egypt, the different gods of Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Luciferianism, of ancient Sumerian, ancient Mesopotamia, all these different religions. They're telling it from their perspective, but they're pointing toward the same God, Lucifer, aka Satan, and that you can receive immortality through his line, his lineage of knowledge and wisdom by taking upon his seed, his word, his wisdom, his truth. On the flip side, you take on the seed of Christ, his word, his truth, his wisdom. Sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. The words that I speak to you, they are spirit and they are life. It is the spirit that quickeneth. It is the word that quickeneth. The word is the seed. Remember, the seed is in a dormant state until it's awakened. We covered that in the other videos. Until it receives that what? That proper amount of light, and then it springs up. So you have the light of Christ or the light of the Antichrist. Then it says the horned viper appears in Casseti and Neo-Assyrian Kudurus. It's similar to what? The Kundalini, and is invoked in Assyrian texts as a magical protective entity. A dragon-like creature with horns, the body and neck of a snake, and forelegs of a lion, and the hind legs of a bird, appears in Mesopotamian art from the Akkadian period until the Hellenistic period. This creature, known in Akkadian, means what? Furious serpent. Was used as a symbol for particular deities and also as a general protective emblem. So the furious serpent was a symbol for what? A deity. Oh, it's a snake, man. This is like, come on, y'all. I know y'all smarter than that. I know you're smarter than to just think that Eve was in the garden talking to a snake, and then God said that he was going to put enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed. What the hell does a serpent, a snake slithering on the ground, having children, got to do with a woman having a child when a woman don't even have seed? But with a woman having a child, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. That don't even make sense. Oh, but it makes sense when we have a deeper understanding of what the serpent really boils down to. Look what it says again. Meaning the fierce serpent was used as a symbol for particular deities, particular gods. The gods were once men in flesh. When Satan was Lucifer on the earth, he was Lucifer as a man on the earth, ruling the earth. The book of Ezekiel and Isaiah talks about that. He was a man. That's why the scriptures say in the book of Isaiah, is this the man? They shall look upon him and say, is this the man that made the world as a wilderness, that made the kingdoms of the earth, of the world to tremble? Is this the man? The scriptures say that when Jesus comes back on this earth, that he will destroy this man. And he will spontaneously combust from the inside. He will look upon them, and then the people will fear. These deities, they were gods manifested in the flesh, in the physical form. They were men. That's why he said in the book of Psalms, I have said that ye are gods, but ye shall die like men. Why? Because they were not judging the world the way that they were supposed to. They were walking in unrighteousness because of the power that they had. They were not benefiting the people that they were supposed to be benefiting. Jesus said the same thing to the scribes and the Pharisees, because they were trying to get on him because he was saying that he was the Son of God. And he said, okay, if I'm saying that I'm the Son of God, then how are you going to get mad at me when it's written that I wrote to you that ye are gods? Now, why would Jesus say that? Why would Jesus say to the Pharisees, the scribes and Pharisees, that it is written that ye are gods, but you shall die like men? Why would he quote that scripture? Even though he was speaking to men. What is a god? A god is a immortal being that has the knowledge of good and evil. And you can choose to do good or you can choose to do evil. That is what a god is at its core. A true God is one who is supposed to be made in the image of God, a spiritual being put into the flesh, doing good, but having the knowledge of good and evil, but not doing evil. But you can be a God and choose to do evil and receive the same judgment as Satan. So it goes down and says, it seems to have originally been the attendant of the underworld god. The what? Underworld god. But later became the attendant of the Hurrian storm god Tishpak, as well as later Ninazu's son. Y'all see it, the Babylonian national god Marduk. So the same God you see they're talking about, Marduk, the Bible talks about him, Marduk. I forgot the other name that the Bible uses for him, but some of y'all know. It's the same God, same deity, the one that they were sacrificing the children to. The scribal god Nabu, Nibiru. People think it's about a planet. Ain't gonna do no planet. The planet is a symbolization of this God. Nabu, Nibiru, planet 7X, planet X, this God. And the Assyrian national god Ashur. Snake cults were well established in Canaanite religion in the Bronze Age for I can't pronounce it today, so y'all just bear with me. Sometimes I'm on it, sometimes I'm not. Have uncovered serpent cult objects in Bronze Age strata at several pre-Israelite cities in Canaan. 2 at Megiddo, the Battle of Armageddon. That's what's going down at. So it goes on and on. It talks about just the different serpent cults and serpent worship all around the world. Snakes are sacred and powerful in the thoughts of prehistoric cultures of Iran. It seems that they have worship along with what? The fertility goddesses from 4th to 1st millennium BC. Serpents have pictured as patrons of fertility, water, and wealth in the ancient objects of Iran. So when they talk about the Caduceus, had to do with wealth and commerce, nothing to do with medicine and all these different things. Bull jive. All throughout history, United Arab Emirates, they talk about it. Talks about what it says in the Bible. So if we go forward, let's read about this a little bit. The Maculenda sheltering Gautama Buddha, which is the Naga Prok attitude. Sandstone with traces of pigment and gold. It says, it is the name of a Naga, a snake-like being, who protected the Gautama Buddha from the elements after his enlightenment. It is said that 4 weeks after Gautama Buddha began meditating under the Bodhi tree, the heavens darkened for 7 days, and a prodigious rain descended. Oh, Lord. If y'all don't see what they're trying to say, what they're playing on, then I don't know what to tell you. It descended. However, the mighty king of serpents, Maculenda, came from beneath the earth and protected with his hood the one who is the source of all protection. So this serpent, the king of serpents, the king of the wisdom, the king of all the little kings, he came forth and he protected him from this rain that was just coming upon him, trying to destroy him. Oh, he survived the flood though, huh? When the great storm had cleared, the serpent king assumed what? His human form. So the serpent king can shapeshift into a human, shapeshift into mankind. He took on his human form. Oh, Lord. Help him, Lord. He bowed down before the Buddha and returned in joy to his palace. Because the spirit of the Serpent King was now in the Buddha. So he was bowing down to himself. He went through he survived the storm through the protection of the serpent. He survived everything that God threw at him trying to destroy him, to receive immortality through the initiation to the Luciferian knowledge and wisdom. So let's push forward some more. This is the flag. We know about this flag. Don't tread on me. You see the connections. It's all pointing toward the same thing. They're harnessing the power of the serpent, the wisdom of the serpent. Now it talked about this type of energy and power that it had, right? And it says, and entheogen is a class of psychoactive substances that induce any type of spiritual experience aimed at development or sacred use. The term entheogen is often chosen to contrast recreational use of the same drugs. The religious, shamanic, or spiritual significance of entheogens is well established in anthropological and modern contexts. Entheogens have traditionally been used to supplement many diverse practices geared towards achieving transcendence, including white and black magic, divination, meditation, yoga, sensory deprivation, asceticism, prayer, trance, rituals, chanting, hymns like Piot songs, and drumming. In the 1960s, the hippie movement escalated its use in psychedelic art, binaural beats, sensory deprivation tanks, music, and rave parties. So let's look at a little bit of the etymology. And then it says, one of a group of species referred to as angels' trumpets. Why? Because a trumpet sounds something spiritually. And it says these plants are rich in the chemical compound scopolamine. And it says it's an example of an entheogen. And then if you go down, this word is derived from two words of ancient Greek, which means what? It translates to what? Full of the God, inspired, possessed, as is the root of the English word enthusiasm. Then you go down, it says the Greek used it as a term of praise for poets and other artists. And it says what it means to come into being. Thus, an entheogen is a drug that causes one to become inspired or to experience feelings of inspiration, often in a religious or spiritual manner. Now you see why God said, don't be drunk. People, I'm drunk in the spirit. They're drunk off the knowledge of these gods, worshiping them, possessed by, they're full of the God, full of these fallen angels, full of their spirit, inspired by them, possessed by them, by their knowledge, being enthusiastic, by them. Let's go. Let's continue pushing forward. Lord, help them see. So this Mesopotamian deity of vegetation and the underworld was what translates as Sumerian for Lord or Master of the Good Tree. In Sumerian mythology, he appears as Adapa's myth as one of the two guardians of Anu's celestial palace, alongside Dumuzi. He was sometimes depicted as a serpent with a human head. He got nothing to do with no snake, y'all. Oh Lord, people think got something to do with the snake. Oh, snakes. The serpent crawling on the ground. It's deeper than that. He was depicted as a serpent with a human head. When Satan come back, he ain't coming back walking around as no snake. He gonna be a man. Let's see what else they got. This god, and y'all see it right there, Ningish Zeta, is sometimes the son of Ninazu and Nine-Gurida. I'm tearing them up today, boy. I don't know how to pronounce these names. I ain't gonna flex. Even though the myth of his journey to the netherworld suggests he is the son of Erex Kingal. Following an inscription found at Lagash, he was the son of Anu, the heavens. Look at this. His wife is Asimua and also Gesh-Dinana, while his sister is Amashilama. In some texts, this dude is said to be what? Female. Oh, which means Nin, that would refer to lady, which is mostly how the word is used by the Sumerians. He or she was one of the ancestors of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh was also Nimrod. Same person. Which is where we also get the story of what? Tammuz and all them different things. Lord. But let's go. I remember I referenced earlier about the Black Buddha. I want to go bring it up to you and show you about that, and then we're gonna go ahead and close it out after that.
The art, science, music, literature, drama, the whole culture, particularly the religion of all the people of Asia, can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. India, Japan, China, just to name a few. Even Afro-American history can be traced directly to the Africans of Asia. I know it sounds strange to you, but the world owes a debt to the Africans of Asia. In the following presentation, you'll find out exactly why. Just give me a few seconds. Your ancestors never intended to let you down. In this book, called The Gods of Northern Buddhism, we find a name, the Asian name of the supreme deity of the universe. His name is Sambo. They say when nothing else was, Sambo was. The name of the God of the universe to the people of Asia. And there are many places that carry this name. This is a depiction of Sambo. This is not an African statue. This is from Asia. And many places in Asia are called Sambo Judasia, the land of the descendants of Sambo. Various spellings of the word and the name Sambo can be found throughout Asia. Niggas, the divine people of Buddhism. This is a 2nd century depiction of Gautama the Buddha being given his first bath by the divine people of Buddhism called Niggas, a tribe in Asia called Niggas, the divine people of all the people of Asia, symbolized throughout Asia by the serpent or the dragon. That is their symbol. The Naga means serpent or dragon, the snake, found at the entrance of every temple. The Naga on the roads, on the hills, in the caves, the symbol of the Asiatic black man, the tribe called the Nagas, the divine people. There are cities also throughout Asia that carries this particular name, Naga. It can be seen at all ceremonies dealing with worship of God. From the Nile Valley to the Indus Valley, on tombstones, a symbol of immortality because of the serpent's ability to change his skin is a sign of never dying, and is used throughout the planet Earth, North, South America, Egypt, Asia, Africa, throughout the world. It's the symbol of life after death, the Naga, the serpent. In all ancient cultures, in all ancient religions, the serpent is the symbol, the Naga, the symbol of divinity, of God. The original inhabitants of Southeast Asia was called the Mons, an African tribe. In order to confirm what these people look like, you have to go to the archaeological finds from Davarati, a French archaeological research finding confirming the original inhabitants. There's no depictions preceding these of the original inhabitants of Southeast Asia, the people, the descendants of Sambo, the Asiatic black man. The 7 serpents, or 7 rays, or the Nagas surrounding his head, represent the cosmic forces that afford him protection. He is a divine representation of cosmic forces, and those 7 serpents represent his divine mission. He does not come of his own. He's a manifestation of the cosmos. The serpents, or the Naga, represent cosmic forces which is at his command, which represent him as a divinity. He is the manifestation of the universe. That is the symbol of those serpents you see surrounding his head. In essence, the 7 serpents are cosmological, dealing with astrology, astrological representations of those forces of the cosmos that he represents. He is a universal monarch, a universal king, which he manifests and he shows evidence of. The black man of Asia, the original inhabitants of Asia. He is a human being of flesh and blood. He comes as a teacher, as a manifestation of God. His teachings are called the Dhamma. He is called the Buddha, the intelligent one, the one who has achieved intelligence, or the genie, the conqueror. He comes to explain the laws of the universe. He comes to confirm that there is, in fact, life after death. When the Buddha appears, he appears as a preacher, and he preaches the Dhamma, that existence is a continual cycle of death and rebirth, and that each person's position and well-being in life is determined by his or her behavior in their previous lives. For example, good deeds may lead to rebirth as a wise and wealthy person or as a being in heaven, and a person's evil deed could lead to rebirth as a poor and sickly person, or even rebirth in hell. He preaches that you reap what you sow. A Buddha also teaches that it's possible to break out of this cycle and gain a kind of perfect peace and happiness by practicing righteousness. They are manifestations of God. According to their prophecies, they promise to prove and make manifest through a Buddha or a Jina life after death before the end of this century. In order to remove all doubt, the Buddha, the enlightened one, the intelligent one, the genie, the conqueror, decided to make manifest to the world irrefutable evidence. They wanted to prove to a people in the future the manifestation of God, that God manifests himself through human beings, through men. Now, prophecy is irrefutable. A prophecy is a written confirmation of what will happen at a future date. These people, the black people of Asia, predicted or prophesied what they would do 2,500 years into the future. The prophecy states that he would send something from the past and join it with something from the future, something from the material world and join it with something from the spiritual world. The union of both the past and the future worlds and the spiritual and the material worlds would be contained in the revelation of a secret mystic diagram called the Mandela of two parts. This is a depiction of the future Buddha who would make this manifest at a point before the end of this century. Now, the scriptures of the world have all prophesied at the end of the age, which we are now entering, the age of Aquarius, we shall see the revelation of that which is secret and the emergence into the light of day of that which has hitherto been concealed and veiled. This, our present age, is that time, the end of the cycle, the beginning of the new age. This book by Ivan van Sertima raises the question of the African presence in early Asia. How did they get to Asia? This is the future Buddha. How did they get to Asia? They were called the Mons. And the wind and the rain in Asia is called the monsoon. This is the key to how they got to Asia. The monsoon wind in April blows from the southwest, and in October it blows from the northeast. The monsoon wind blows from Africa to Asia, and from Asia back to Africa. The wind from April to October blows from the southwest, and from October to April it blows from the northeast. These two trade routes and routes that of travel is the direction of the Mons, the Africans of Asia. They went from Africa to Asia and from Asia to Africa, and they were called the Mons. Like the monsoon, Africa was called Hither India, which India, here I am, come hither, come here where I am. And they would get on the ocean and get in the wind. This is where the phrase get in the wind come from your previous life. The Africans of Asia got to Asia by getting in the wind. This is confirmed from the first century. The Greeks knew how they got to Asia. The wafting sailors, they call it the divine ship of salvation. The Mons, when they would arrive in Asia and when they would leave Asia. The Japanese badge of nobility is called a Mon. The monsoon, the monastery, Mani, is identified with the black man of Asia. And the largest statues on the planet Earth located in Asia are depictions of the Buddha, the black man, the Jina. His hair confirms who he is. This is the largest statue in China and the largest statue on Earth depicting the black man. The oldest and largest manifestations of God, like this image of the Buddha in Thailand and Southeast Asia, are representations of the black Africans of Asia. There are no other statues or monuments of antiquity that precede them. They manifest themselves on earth and prove life after death. This from Ceylon or Sri Lanka, showing the Buddha, thousands of years old. They are the largest statues on earth representing the black people of Asia, or the black man of Asia, the one who comes back from the dead to prove immortality. They do it all the time in all the countries, and they prophesied that they would do it before the end of this century. This is the largest statue in Sri Lanka, the largest statue in China, the largest statue in India, the largest monolithic statue on earth. The genie, the one who comes back from the dead, carved in solid rock 70 feet high. The largest monolithic statue on earth is the black man, and it is not in Africa, but it is in Asia. The Asiatic black man, the manifestation of God who comes back to preach and explain the doctrine of immortality, how to escape the fires of hell. That is his sole purpose. To attack him is to attack the cosmic forces of God. He sits in Western style because he will be born in the West. The people who he will be born among are called the Negas. This is the future Buddha, the one who is to come.
So before we get ready to close it out, I want to address this Wajet in connection with Medusa, and also in connection with Rihanna in regards to how we saw her manifesting herself, showing who she really is of. So Wajet, which means green one, known to the Greek world as Uto or Buto, among other names including Wajet, Uajet, and Ujo, was originally the ancient local goddess of the city of Dep. It became part of the city that the Egyptians named per Wajet, house of Wajet, and the Greeks called Buto, now Diosok, which was an important site in prehistoric Egypt and the cultural development of Paleolithic. So this goes back even prior to Egypt and the Egyptian beliefs. Wajet was said to be the patron and protector of Lower Egypt, and upon unification with Upper Egypt, the joint protector and patron of all of Egypt, goddess of Upper Egypt, goddess. The image of Wajet with the sun disk is called the Uraeus, and we covered that in the previous video, and it was the emblem on the crown of the rulers of Lower Egypt. She was also the protector of kings and of women in childbirth. Wajet was said to be the nurse of the infant god Horus. With the help of his mother Isis, they protected Horus from his treacherous uncle Set when they took refuge in the swamps of the Nile Delta. Wajet was closely associated in ancient Egyptian religion with the Eye of Ra, a powerful protective deity. The hieroglyph for her eye is shown below. So the eye that you see, that's supposed to be the eye over the pyramid, they're telling you is really the eye of a female. It's really the eye of Mystery Babylon, the mother of all hearts and abominations on earth. That's what the eye represents, because the eye, the woman, is going to point toward the man, because the woman is married to the man. She's married to the beast. So Satan is exalting the feminine spirit, and then the woman, the feminine spirit, is going to point back toward the serpent, the beast, Satan, Lucifer, who this woman, the woman that we see in the book of Revelation, who she is married to, not the bride of Christ, but the woman that's riding the beast. This is the same woman, flipping things around, because we know the man is supposed to be the head. It's all about changing the way. It's all about changing the image of God and how man was supposed to be, by exalting the feminine spirit over the masculine spirit, exalting the woman over the man. Same thing that the serpent did with Eve. Oh, I have some knowledge. Remember, let me slow down. Remember, Adam was supposed to take the knowledge that he had and give it to the woman in regards to what to do, what not to do, and all these different things. But the serpent came to Eve and he was pretty much saying like, hey, if you eat this tree, you will receive a knowledge and wisdom that your husband ain't even gave you. You will receive a knowledge and wisdom that your husband doesn't even have. Your husband doesn't even have this. You eat this knowledge, you eat of this tree, you'll have something that he don't even have that you can give to him. So he played her in her own pride. And really her pride was that she wanted to be over the man. I can know something that my husband doesn't know. Then I can be in his position. That's what it all boils down to. And it's through the changing of the DNA, through knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. So, where were we at? Purwajet also contained a sanctuary of Horus, the child of the sun deity, who would be interpreted to represent the pharaoh. You see the connection? Much later, Wajet became associated with Isis as well as with many other deities. It's just prepackaged, y'all, just prepackaged. So it just goes down. Let's see. As the patron goddess, she was associated with the land and depicted as a snake-headed woman or a snake, usually an Egyptian cobra, a venomous snake common to the region. Sometimes she was depicted as a woman with 2 snake heads, and at other times a snake with a woman's head. What was the fall of Adam? It wasn't because he was deceived, it's because he loved his woman. What was the fall of majority of the Israelites in the Bible? Women. Remember when the king, I forgot his name, he tried to get the false prophet to curse Israel, and he said, I can't curse him, I can't curse him, I cannot curse him, I cannot curse him. He said, I give you this, I give you this, I give you this, I can't. He said, I can't do it. Then what did he do? He said, but I tell you how to get him, no. And how did the Israelites end up falling? He told them, he said, send these beautiful women there, and then they will end up taking these women, and then the women would teach them their ways of worshiping gods, these false gods, and then God will have their God who is greater than my God, which is why I can't curse them. He will have no choice but to punish them. They sent the women in. What was the fall of Solomon? Because all the women he had, all these different beliefs, these different religions, these different women that worship these different gods, and that had him worshiping other gods. They were giving him this knowledge, and he was taking it and he was mixing it all together. He had all this wisdom. Though, don't get it twisted now. These gods, they do have wisdom. But he was doing stuff he had no business. No business. That's why they look to Solomon so much. Oh, Solomon was conjuring up devils. The fall of Solomon was women. What was the fall of David? A woman. You can even say with Christ, a woman, the weaker vessel, his bride, the church. He died for his church, who is symbolized as a woman. What is Israel symbolized as in the scriptures? A woman, the weaker vessel, the flesh. The woman protects. What does the church do? The church protects. We are the weaker vessel in comparison to Christ. Christ being the head. What do you see in the book of Revelation? The woman clothed with the righteousness on, and the crown, and the 12 stars, the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 children that give birth to the rest of them. the crowning jewel on the body, on the woman. And the woman came forth from who? From man. The woman is going to point you toward the man, going to point you toward her husband. Eve was supposed to point toward her husband, Adam. Nah, snake, nah, serpent, nah. Go talk to my husband. I'm not fooling with you. But both of them made stupid mistakes. If my wife is out in public, nah, I'm married. Or if she's having a women's Bible study, what is she teaching? She's teaching the things that I taught her. Oh, where'd you get that from? My husband taught me that, because my husband's the head. Are we understanding? That's why the scriptures say that it says, let the woman learn at home, but from her husband, to be silent, keep silent in the church when the men are conducting the things that they are conducting. So this is what it boils down to in regards to the exaltation of the woman. It really has nothing to do with the woman. The woman is just being used. Because this woman is going to point you toward her husband, which is who? Satan, the beast. But he is exalting her so he himself can be exalted through her instead of the man. Even though when he steps on the scene, he's going to be a man. And he's also going to have what? No desire of women. So just not about the woman. He don't care about the woman. He cares about himself. People are buying into this. But it just goes on and on. It says, her image also rears up from the staff of the flagpoles that are used to indicate deities, as seen in the hieroglyph of the Uraeus and for goddess in other places. So Satan going to present himself how he want to present himself. You want me to be a woman, I'll be a woman. You want me to be a man, I'll be a man. You want me to be a serpent, a donkey, whatever you need me to be, elephant, raccoon, whatever. That's what I'm going to be. As long as you bow down and worship me, I give you what you want. This is what it boils down to. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and close it out. God bless each and every one of you. In Jesus Christ's name, as always, stay focused for Jesus. And as you know, truth is not debated. It is declared. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If it was edifying to you, be sure to do your part and share it on all your social media outlets, websites, and forums. Your help is greatly appreciated to help fight this war and reach lost souls. Don't forget to like, dislike, and/or subscribe. Be sure to also check out our website, stayingfocusedforjesus.life. And make sure you check out that resource section, which has a lot of videos that I share and some other stuff. Books, documents, PDF, websites, many things, and it's growing daily as I add to it. Also follow us on Facebook for even more content. Staying Focused for Jesus on Facebook.
Squeeze it so tight, get the last drop, till there's nothing left, until we pass out. Keeping us around to clean up the mess and take the garbage out, but we'll be trash next. Create catastrophes to speed up the process. Depopulation, agenda, progress. News tell half-truths, hidden in plain sight. They know we can't Kool-Aid, but gave us cyanide. They know we don't see it. They know you can't see it. What they've done to us. Open your eyes. Lemonade. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It ain't safe for us. They made it so sweetly, so it will be easy to carry their plans out to lemonade. Oh, lemonade. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It ain't safe for us. Made it too easy while we're busy sleeping. They carry their plans out to lemonade. Voluntarily, they hold us hostage. Pay to receive fabricated knowledge. False education, standing ovation for my degree in indoctrination. Georgia Guidestones plainly tell us that they plan to eliminate us. Conspiracy theory, we see no dilemma as they quietly wipe out billions. They know we don't see it. They know you can't see it. They know what they done to us, taking us down. Lemonade. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It ain't safe for us. They made it so sweetly, so it will be easy to carry their plans out to lemonade. Oh, lemonade. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. It ain't safe for us. Made it too easy while we're busy sleeping. They carry their plans out to lemonade. Oh, invisible ones behind the scenes, like Geppetto, pulling the strings. Master plan, dumb us all down. Eat what they feed us, try not to think. Carry on, nothing to see as they continue with their killing spree. We wasting time on trivial things and bow with